Breaking right now, an explosion at Baltimore County's troubled wastewater treatment plant. Next at 4, what caused it and why the fires on site are being left to burn. Then Fox 45 News investigates the timeline of Governor Wes Moore's nominee to lead the state police, what it could mean for his confirmation moving forward.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 4.
Breaking news, taking a live look at the New York Stock Exchange as markets are about to close. A rough finish to the day as yet another major global bank is facing economic trouble. More on that and President Biden's response coming up in just a few minutes. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala.
And I'm Kai Jackson. More breaking news out of Baltimore County as flames and an explosion erupt from the troubled Back River wastewater treatment plant just before noon.
That's right. Fox 45's Vincent Hill has been at the plant all day long, joins us live with where the investigation stands now. Vincent?
Yeah, Mary and Kai, were told investigators responded here around 11:30 and found severe damage to one of these buildings here at the plant. Now, right now, crews are still on scene, and the cause of that explosion is still being investigated. We're told it happened inside a building that is leased by a city contractor known as Synagro, which is not affiliated with the Back River water treatment plant. Oil was being stored in that building, which is said to be non-hazardous. So what exactly sparked that explosion is unknown at this time. A spokesperson from the Baltimore County Fire Department describing this scene when crews arrived.
There were 7 people working inside that building when the incident occurred. Some of them immediately left the building. Our fire crews helped the rest of them get out of the building. Our crews were dealing with multiple fires inside that building.
Now, we are told that this did not affect any operations of the plant and, quote, it's business as usual.
All right. Vincent, is there any threat to the public that you're aware of?
Well, Kai, MDE is saying that oil is contained to that building that exploded earlier, so there was no threat to the public or anything to worry about in the water. For now, we're live in Essex. Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
Vincent, thank you. Well, we will continue to follow this breaking story. Today's explosion, just the latest in a series of issues at the Back River wastewater treatment plant. Workers from the Maryland Environmental Service are still monitoring the plant a year after objects resembling feces were found in that water supply. This is our video. A report released last summer revealed there were failures at nearly every level from the city-owned facility, including murky discharge from hydrants and broken electrical boxes.
Also breaking tonight, City Council President Nick Mosby announces that he is running for re-election. The council president faced a number of controversies in the past few months, including pushing a council resolution to recognize his wife, former City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby, at the end of last year. Last month, a judge found Mosby violated 2 ethics rules surrounding his failure to report donations to a legal defense fund set up in his name last year. Fox 45 News found Mosby received just one campaign contribution of $500 compared to tens of thousands of other prominent officials collected. Fox 45 News will have a complete report on Nick Mosby's re-election campaign coming up on Fox 45 News at 10 o'clock. First on Fox, Governor Wes Moore's pick to lead the state police is facing questions about the timing of his return to the job after retiring. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost is investigating that timeline. She joins us live with more. Mackenzie?
Okay, so right now, Maryland state law requires someone who retires to wait 45 days before they can get rehired in order to earn their pension from state government. Now, we obtained an email and documentation showing that Governor Wes Moore and his team, they were paying attention to that 45-day window. We know Butler was named acting superintendent of MSP on February 23rd, which is outside that window, but the document we reviewed shows the governor and his team, again, were talking with Butler sometime in January, and that is where the questions are stemming from.
And Mackenzie, what's the governor saying about these questions?
Well, his communications director tells me right now that they believe Butler followed all of the rules and regulations surrounding the timeline of this, as well as the pension. But this also comes on the heels of other questions about MSP as a whole. The department facing several other questions about systemic problems within the department. We'll have our full investigation, including some other reaction from lawmakers, coming up at 5. But for now, we're live in the newsroom. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Several gubernatorial appointments have drawn criticism from lawmakers and the public. Maryland's head of juvenile services, Vincent Giraldi, faced criticism for supporting research that looks to eliminate probation and parole for offenders. Governor Wes Moore withdrew his nomination for Juan Alvarado. The governor picked him for a natural gas oversight role on the Public Service Commission. Environmental groups were critical of Alvarado's ties to the natural gas industry. The state Senate is also holding a vote for Yolanda Martinez to be the next head of the Maryland Stadium Authority. They cite a troubled financial history in that case.
Well, new tonight, Baltimore City Comptroller Bill Henry releasing findings from an audit regarding the Baltimore Police Forensics Department. The audit found there were major delays in getting lab supplies like DNA kits to the department, causing a massive evidence backlog. In one case, the city had to borrow equipment from another jurisdiction. We will continue to follow this story, including much more right now at foxbaltimore.com.
Well, after some good breezes, even some damage, some trees coming down in spots, the winds are finally subsiding. It's been kind of a rough 24 hours, at least not the snow that they saw to our north. But nonetheless, that same weather maker giving us winds about 15 to 30 miles an hour right now. Overall, a real pretty day, but the winds are still coming up to about 31 miles an hour in gusts here in Baltimore, 32 miles an hour in Annapolis, and at about 33 Easton, 32 miles an hour down at Denton. But again, the sun is back, so it does feel good when you're out there. Temperatures in the 50 to 55 range, which is close to seasonable. And guess what? The winds come down even further into the overnight hours tonight. After sunset, finally losing that system, that big nor'easter pulling well out into the Atlantic. And that's when our winds also come down. Look, by tomorrow morning and tomorrow noontime, only about, 10 miles an hour. We'll take that, 10, 15 miles an hour into tomorrow. And it looks like we've got some even warmer numbers to come. I'm going to let you know when we could be touching 60, maybe 65 degrees around here. And if it comes for St. Patrick's Day and the beginning of spring next week, my Weather Authority forecast.
Jonathan, thank you. The manhunt continues for Roy McGrath, former Governor Larry Hogan's chief of staff. We have new information and video from the FBI.
NFL free agency ramping up as the league year officially kicks off. How the Ravens are planning to handle Lamar Jackson's deal and some other big splashes around the league.
Was it a mix-up or Russian attack? What we're learning about a U.S. drone crashing off the coast of the Black Sea. Picking up the pieces in Upton following a building collapse last night. The Baltimore Fire Department says it happened on West Landvale Street. This is the rubble left behind. There's no official word on what caused that collapse. However, neighbors in the area believe strong winds were a factor.
And they were intense last night. Still are today, even though, Jonathan, you mentioned that sunshine helped a little bit.
Better, but the wind's still up to about 30, 40 miles an hour in gusts. Yesterday, they were at 52 miles an hour. That was where we peaked out at BWI, so things are baby steps to getting better. But still 52 right now. You see the winds are sustained northwest at about 20. This is on the Mile 1 Townsend cam. Humidity is nice and low, so there actually is an increased chance of fire danger today. So if you do have any outdoor burning, maybe, you're dealing with kind of cleaning up the yard with all the leaves and the mess from the winter, you want to use some extra caution because of the high winds and the very low humidity can really kind of fuel a fire pretty quickly. Now, outside of that, it is a gorgeous day. You'll probably need a few layers or at least a heavier jacket with the winds out of the northwest at about 15 to 20. But I was a little risky. I opened my window a few times on my trip into work today, and maybe you can on the trip home, especially if the sunshine's kind of glinting down on you. Some of those winds are still up to about 30 miles an hour in gusts, about 30, 35 here at Annapolis, as well as at Easton, about 25 miles an hour in gusts at Westminster and near 30 at Frederick, as well as at Gaithersburg. But we have warmer and calmer times ahead. Take a look at the HD radar. There's the last of the major nor'easter. Put down feet of snow. I was looking at some of the totals, up to 36 inches over portions of central and eastern, as well as northern Massachusetts, all the way up into the northeastern kingdom here, Vermont, New Hampshire. A good 1 to 2 feet of snow. That all gone now. And we're just dealing with some of the chill overnight into early tomorrow. The next weather maker already rearing its head up toward Minneapolis, as well as the northern Midwest. Sunshine and blustery right now. Chilly overnight tonight, kind of cold. And then the warmer weather as we go ahead of this next weather maker. This one, we're going to be on the warmer side of it, so temperatures are going to start recovering and nicely by tomorrow, as well as St. Patrick's Day on Friday. Unfortunately, by Friday, though, that system will be close enough that we could get some rain. So the future scan winds, all good news here. Take a look at the blues. That's the lesser wind color. And you can see here, again, we go back down to about 20 miles an hour or less in gusts overnight tonight, even almost calm overnight into early tomorrow morning. And then during the day tomorrow, kind of a ho-hum normal day with winds about 10, 20 miles an hour. And temperature is going to be nearing 60 degrees under sunshine. So some great news there. There it is. Take a look. 62 on our Thursday with sunspot showers for Friday. We go to, again, St. Patrick's Day highs in the mid-60s. But there could be a few spotlight showers, so you may want to have some indoor plans, at least alternate. And then scattered showers to start. That's mainly going to be early in the morning on Saturday, then a blustery day with a high 53. Colder for Sunday. Spring begins on Monday, 52, and we're in the low to mid 50s, which is about seasonable into the middle of next week.
So the question is, where is the money?
A familiar face joining the fight for families who've invested in the state's embattled prepaid college trust. Baltimore
City Inspector General Isabel Cumming says she's among hundreds of parents who believe their money is missing from their Maryland 529 accounts. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor shares her story and her call for action. Rebecca?
Yeah, as the city's top investigator, Cumming is an expert in sniffing out scams. And while she's only viewing this case as a parent, she says, as an outsider looking in her professional opinion, this calculation error with Maryland 529 doesn't pass the smell test.
It could happen to me. It could happen to anybody.
Career fraud fighter and current Baltimore City Inspector General Isabel Cumming is still in shock. A state-run agency has yet to refund the money she says parents were promised.
How could this even happen? How could this be true?
In 2021, Cummings' Maryland 529 balance was about $43,000. But when she went to transfer the account from one son to another later that year, she was told just $15,000 was available. When she pressed Maryland 529 for an explanation, she says straight answers were hard to come by.
I have been told so many different things. Computer glitch, forensic audit. Now they're just saying that my account is canceled. So myself and many, many parents who who believed in what, the state of Maryland was telling us are now unable to pay for our children's education.
According to Maryland 529, an interest calculation error inaccurately inflated all 31,000 prepaid accounts. A year later, they're still working to manually recalculate the interest on hundreds of high priority accounts. But according to Cumming and many other Maryland families, the math still isn't adding up.
I mean, I invested the money back in 2002, 2003, 2004. So for 20 years, now you're telling me that it's only $15,000. Where is the money? It doesn't make sense. And when things don't make sense, they need to be further investigated.
State investigations are typically spearheaded by the Attorney General's office. But in this case, documents uncovered by FOX45 revealing the AG's office is actively boosting the agency's defense against potential legal backlash. In November of last year, former Attorney General Brian Frosch signing a special counsel contract, which brought on an outside law firm to offer Maryland 529 advice and support, as well as evaluating liability issues, work that's being done, quote, under the direction and control of the Office of the Attorney General. Still, several lawmakers say they're looking into the issues on their own. At least 2 bills have been proposed to shift leadership and provide new oversight of the state's college trust. However, they all fall short of guaranteeing parents will be paid back, an outcome Cumming and hundreds of other parents continue holding out hope for.
In the end, that's what I believe should happen, that the Maryland legislature, the Maryland governor should stand behind what we were promised.
And happening right now in Annapolis, the Budget and Taxation Committee is holding a hearing on Senate Bill 959. That bill would dissolve Maryland 529's current board, and it would move control of the state college trust to the state treasurer's office. It's something that Treasurer Davis has said he is in support of. And as I've been listening in on that meeting, parents that have been giving their testimony, they also say that they are in support of this bill. However, they are also calling for an amendment that would guarantee they get their money back. We will be providing with updates on that hearing throughout the broadcast, so stay with us here at Fox 45. But reporting live in Baltimore City, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Rebecca, thank you. Since the legislative session began in January, 2 high-ranking members of Maryland 529 have resigned. Board Chair Peter Saragosa stepped down last month shortly after Jessica McCain, a member of the board's Audit and Governance Subcommittee, left halfway through her 4-year term. You can see all of our reporting on Maryland 529 on foxbaltimore.com. All right, the new NFL league year is officially upon us, and Lamar Jackson's status is taking center stage, as you can imagine.
That's right. Morgan Atson is live with more. Morgan, this is like the new fiscal year for the NFL, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And just wait, this can drag out into the summer and then maybe next year if they tag him. So this is not done. At 4 p.m. today, while not a true free agent, MVP quarterback Lamar Jackson officially hit the market. Jackson is open for business. Jackson, along with the Ravens, are about to find his market value. The Ravens set it for just north of $32 million this upcoming season by using the non-exclusive franchise tag. Any offer that comes his way starting now, the Ravens have 5 days to match or let Jackson walk after 5 seasons for 2 first-round draft picks. Is there a market for Lamar Jackson? Well, there should be, but it's leaning more the Ravens' way. Before Jackson's allowed to even talk to teams today, a number of moves were already made elsewhere. Aaron Rodgers to the Jets is expected to happen via trade. Baker Mayfield to the Bucks, Jimmy Garoppolo to the Raiders, Derek Carr to the Saints. The Falcons picked up Taylor Heineke and have Desmond Ridder as their projected starter. The Dolphins are picking up Tua Tagovailoa's 5th-year option, and they signed a backup, Matt White. The 49ers signed Sam Darnold. Now, here are the teams that should be all in on Jackson: the Colts, Texans, and Commanders. The Patriots and Titans are interesting, but have quarterbacks under contract, so that's more trade route. The Ravens did re-sign Justice Hill today, keeping the free agent running back from hitting the open market. It is a 2-year deal. Hill, when healthy, is a special talent that continues to develop and was one of the Ravens' best special teams players last season. The Ravens use the low restricted tender on backup quarterback Tyler Huntley. They can match any offer he gets, but the Ravens would get nothing if he does sign elsewhere. Nothing was offered for safety Geno Stone. He is now a free agent.
Morgan, thank you. Plenty of hot air tonight surrounding a push to make some leaf blowers illegal in the city. Tonight, questions over why this is an issue. The DOJ and SEC launching criminal investigations into the executives at Silicon Valley Bank, what the feds are trying to find. Major dips from the Dow and S&P 500, but the Nasdaq is in the black right now. This comes as shares of Credit Suisse down more than 20%. The Swiss bank's biggest shareholder appears to be reluctant to dish out any more money. Now, here at home, the Department of Justice and SEC are now looking into the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, the second largest collapse in U.S. history. Federal investigators are looking into both the bank's failure and how senior executives acted leading up to the closure. One financial expert says the executives have reason to be concerned.
So they're really worried about whether there's some kind of securities fraud going on, which would be like making misleading statements. All these people kind of knew each other. I think it really does highlight the ability of social media to turn the tables on firms very quickly.
That brings us to our question of the day. Do you think the federal government should bail out failing banks? Polls just opened. This one did. You can make your voice heard right now. Just go to the foxbaltimore.com/vote. Click on the Pulse tab. Well, one of the biggest threats facing American infrastructure and U.S. companies, a looming cyber attack. The White House is releasing its cybersecurity strategy. The National Desk's Angela Brown takes us through the proposal.
The 2021 Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack causing panic at the pump, driving up gas prices. Nearly 2 years later, experts still warning America is not ready.
Today, America's already behind the 8 ball when it comes to securing our critical infrastructure.
Days ago, the White House announcing its national cybersecurity strategy. One major component, what the White House calls the rebalance of responsibility. That includes shifting the burden for cybersecurity away from individuals, small businesses, and local governments to software companies and others.
Right? If a hack occurs, we don't blame the software companies. It sounds like there's a potential shift there, and which could lead to new litigation. It could lead to a different balance in responsibilities. And it could lead the tech companies to be a lot slower in innovating products because they've got to test it a lot longer.
The plan calls for using all instruments of national power to disrupt and dismantle threat actors, creating a global supply chain for information and communication technology, as well as addressing the ransomware threat through a comprehensive federal approach. But the White House is only part of the equation.
So one of the important things that we need to do to implement this plan is Congress needs to create a national comprehensive approach for cybersecurity, privacy, and data security, and plug those holes that exist today when it comes to things like nonprofits who are often left as kind of a blind spot in our safety and security apparatus. And that's one of the best ways that Congress can step forward.
Overall, the plan is not getting much pushback, but two Republicans are expressing opposition. Representative Mark Green and Andrew Garbarino releasing a statement saying, quote, "It's no surprise that this administration's desire for regulation, bureaucracy, and red tape is a consistent theme in the national cybersecurity strategy. The White House strategy could have lasting impact, shaping corporate behavior." In Washington, D.C., I'm Angela Brown.
ChatGPT is making headlines for its ability to mimic human language and interaction, but it is turning into another tool for scammers. Clay Campbell from the Better Business Bureau joined Fox 45 News this morning to offer some tips on protecting yourself from AI scams.
We're on here every week saying when you're looking at your email, look for misspellings and look for grammar issues. So if the scammer is using ChatGPT or any other AI tool, it's going to be those grammar issues, those misspellings are not going to be there. So it's going to be very hard, very tricky to find, places in an email that make it look suspicious.
AI has the ability to mimic voices, to leave audio messages, write romantic messages, and even poetry, which could lead to an increase in romance scams as well. Experts say to always be cautious when providing personal information over the internet. Ahead on at 4:30, the search for Roy McGrath intensifies. What Florida investigators found when they searched his home this morning.
A seventh close call with commercial planes at a U.S. airport. I'm Atrell Nashar with potential explanations coming out of a safety summit with industry leaders.
Our top story at 4:30 right now. It is day 3 of the federal manhunt for former Governor Hogan's ex-chief of staff, Roy McGrath.
That's right. McGrath did not show up for his federal fraud trial right here in Baltimore Monday morning, and now multiple federal agencies are looking for him.
Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost has been following that search and joins us live with new information about an FBI raid. Mackenzie.
Yeah, Mary and Kai, Roy McGrath is still missing, and this morning we're learning the FBI executed a search warrant at McGrath's house in Naples, Florida. Here's some video that was obtained by Naples News Now showing the FBI at McGrath's house. You can see several heavily armed agents, and we're told there were multiple armored vehicles there. In addition to the FBI, local Baltimore area agents with the U.S. Marshal Service are helping with that search. And McGrath's attorney, Joe Murtha, tells me the FBI was there looking for any information in hopes of getting more details about where McGrath may be. Now, we listened to a 911 call that we obtained from the FBI field office made to local law enforcement in the Naples area Monday morning. That's when the request was made for a welfare check to be done on McGrath. We know that when that was done, McGrath was not found at his house. And yesterday, we know the U.S. Marshal Service posted a wanted poster for McGrath saying that he was a fugitive and looking for any information to help find him. Now, his attorney, again, Joe Murtha, tells me that McGrath's wife, Laura Bruner, says that she doesn't know where her husband is, and she, too, is also helping with the investigation and says that she is concerned for his well-being. Now, Fox 45 spoke with a Marshals Service agent earlier today who says that they are working with the FBI in this search for McGrath.
This is an ongoing investigation conducted in partnership with the FBI and the Marshal Service. As a result, what we can release is limited, but I can tell you that agents are on the case and that it will only be a matter of time before the subject is apprehended.
Now, McGrath is accused of stealing thousands of dollars from the state while he was serving as the executive director from the Maryland Environmental Service. He's also accused of illegally recording conversations with other staffers while McGrath was serving as the chief of staff to former Governor Larry Hogan. During his pretrial release conditions, he had to surrender his passport, and if he is arrested, we're told he will be brought back to Baltimore for trial. For now, we're live in the newsroom. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Mackenzie, thank you. Let's go live to City Hall, where community activists are preparing to speak on what they feel are injustices in Baltimore. They're calling for city leaders to be more transparent on areas like crime, education, and homelessness. The event is set to begin at 5. We'll take you there live when it starts.
In a city in crisis, the same council committee that rejected Mayor Brandon Scott's nominee for city administrator approved it 4 days later. The sudden change of heart brings questions about a possible rift at City Hall.
They're playing a game of tic-tag. They're adults playing a juvenile game, a kid game of tic-tag with the mayor. That's what happened Thursday. You didn't give me what I wanted, so I'm tic-tagging you and I'm running. And then Monday, they kissed and made up. We are the ones who suffer because of their juvenile behavior.
Councilman Zeke Cohen is calling for a restructuring of the Board of Estimates here, saying that the mayor has too much control over how he spends city money. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that. And I think when our mayor was president of city council, he agreed with that. He may not agree with that now, especially in light of the way he did an end run around the issue of the conduit. I think that's what's happening now.
Fox 45 News asked Pastor P.M. Smith about whether the size of the city council should shrink. You can hear his full interview at foxbaltimore.com.
A Baltimore city councilman is proposing a ban on gas-powered leaf blowers, and it has many questioning where his priorities are. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker joins us live in Baltimore with the blowback. Maxine?
Well, Mary and Kai, there's certainly a lot of pushback to this bill that we have seen. Many saying there are more important things, in their opinion, that they'd like to see their elected leaders put their focus on. And it's not just the noise from leaf blowers, but the pollution that has Baltimore City Councilman Ryan Dorsey calling for a ban on gas-powered debris removal equipment. Sponsoring the bill alongside Dorsey are council members Christopher Burnett and Odette Ramos. But Dorsey's proposal has some questioning where his priorities lie.
How can you ban somebody for cleanliness opposed to violence per se?
I think there is a little bit of bigger issues. Nothing is doing about the crime. There's so much crime.
Put your focus on the crime. The crime is sincerely out of hand.
Now, we did reach out to Dorsey for comment on this for the past 2 days, but we have not heard back. Coming up at 5 o'clock, we dig deeper into the past and take a look at just how many bills he sponsored when it comes to crime. Reporting live for now in Baltimore, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Maxine. Dozens of Baltimore residents say that they are fed up and frustrated with rollback recycling services, and they're willing to take their concerns to court. The city currently operates bi-weekly recycling pickup. Now, more than 60 Baltimore City residents have signed a petition that was filed in circuit court demanding weekly recycling be restored. They argue city code requires weekly pickup.
This is just a example of how tone deaf the administration might be on this issue, and we're looking for a circuit court judge to get it pretty clear to the mayor at what this means to the constituents.
The city has 30 days to respond to the litigation. Fox 45 News reached out to the mayor, the Department of Public Works, and the city's law office. So far, we have not heard back.
When you have that large a number of schools that are failing, it is not something where you go after one or two schools. It is system-wide. It's systemic. The problem is systemic.
A Project Baltimore investigation raising questions over what to do with underperforming schools. Fox 45 News first broke this story of the 23 city schools where not a single student who took the state math exam scored proficient. Tonight at 10, the other areas where some of those same schools are failing.
Breaking news coming into our newsroom at this moment. Baltimore City Police have confirmed a 16-year-old boy was grazed by a bullet. Now, this happened at Harford Road and East 25th Street. Fox 45 News has a crew on the way to the scene. We'll bring you any new information as we get it. Sheriff's deputies in Virginia are appearing in court today regarding an inmate death early this month. These 7 officers in Henrico County are charged with second-degree murder after the death of 28-year-old Ervo Otenio. Now, they allegedly arrested Otino when he became aggressive during a burglary response. He then died in police custody as officers were taking him to a mental hospital. The deputies are all being held right now without bond.
U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says he is speaking to Russian officials after a U.S. drone was forced to crash off the coast of the Black Sea after apparently making contact with a Russian fighter jet. Moscow officials say the drone crashed on its own and they had no involvement. But U.S. and European military leaders disagree. The Pentagon says the encounter lasted more than 30 minutes and was a dangerous event given the current tensions in Ukraine.
I can't speak at this point to motive or to intent, but what I can say very clearly is this was a reckless and unsafe action.
Somebody could have gotten hurt. Nobody wants to see that happen, and it could lead to miscalculations between two militaries that are operating not obviously in Ukraine together, but certainly in proximity in the region. And we don't want to see this war escalate beyond what it already has done to the Ukrainian people.
The Pentagon says the $32 million drone was operating lawfully over international waters, but didn't specify if the drone was armed.
Aviation industry leaders gathering in Virginia today for an FAA summit after a series of close calls at U.S. airports. National correspondent Dr. El-Nashar spoke to an expert about how these near disasters can be avoided.
The night before a meeting of airline executives, pilots groups, and other industry leaders, news broke of the 7th close call between planes. This time at Reagan National Airport in the nation's capital. The FAA says it happened on the morning of March 7th when an American Airlines flight crossed the wrong runway, putting it in the path of a United flight that had just been cleared for takeoff.
United 2003, or maybe 1 clear for takeoff traffic.
Clear for takeoff, rolling United 2003.
Oh, United 2003, Kansas takeoff clearance.
Boarding takeoff, United 2003.
Illustrating the urgency for stakeholders to figure out
what the heck is going on out there.
Experts bringing up a backlog of pilot training and an air traffic control staffing shortage.
There were also calls for broader and more consistent funding from Congress, which is set to reauthorize the FAA this year. I spoke to President and CEO of the Flight Safety Foundation, Dr. Hassan Shahidi, who was in the room at the summit on Wednesday, and he tells me predictability is critical for safety.
safety organization that is trying to manage the most complex system in the world of aviation cannot plan effectively when there's uncertainty in terms of resources that are available.
These close calls are the latest issue to rock the Department of Transportation under Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who's faced supply chain bottlenecks, airline chaos, and train derailments, which are also keeping officials at the National Transportation Safety Board busy. Chair Jennifer Homendy, who was at the summit Wednesday, offering this sobering reminder for air travel.
The absence of a fatality or an accident doesn't mean the presence of safety.
Officials and industry leaders set to meet again this spring. In the meantime, investigating the root causes of these 7 close calls and hoping there's not another. In Washington, I'm Atrell Nashar reporting.
At this hour, a federal judge in Texas is hearing arguments in a high-stakes abortion lawsuit. A group is suing the FDA, trying to get the agency to take back approval of an abortion pill, which has been approved for more than 20 years. The lawsuit alleges there were flaws in the approval, like an inadequate review of the pill's safety risk. But experts argue there's no precedent for a judge to overturn an FDA ruling. Coming up, it's creepy and it's kooky. Be More Lifestyle's Mark Clark gives us an inside look at a local production of The Addams Family starting this weekend.
And the winds that we've been seeing will be dying down overnight into tomorrow. I'll let you know if it's going to lead to some warmer temperatures for you for St. Patrick's Day festivities in my Weather Authority forecast.
Familiar sound for people in New York and New England, not in this area, starting up snow blowers after a nor'easter swept through that area. In fact, some areas saw up to 3 feet of snow.
Don't drive in it unless you really have to. Seen about 3 cars off the road on the way home from work.
Well, tens of thousands of people across New England are still without power at this hour, which could take up to a week to restore. Here's Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers with more. And again, in our weather, Jonathan, we're even talking about a warm-up.
Yeah, we sure are. Actually, the entire Northeast is eventually going to be talking about a warm-up. And, yeah, those 3 feet of snow, that happened in inland Massachusetts. Now, around here, not too much. A little bit north of the city. I guess we had some on the grassy surfaces yesterday morning. Now it is all gone. 52, sunshine, gorgeous day, although still kind of breezy and chilly for this time of year. Winds out of the northwest at 19. And also the humidity only at 16% with that gusty wind. And, yeah, not a whole lot of weather going on there on the Toyota Eastern Harbor Skycam means increased fire danger. So keep that in mind if you're going to be doing any yard cleanup, any burning outside, and more so those rural areas. That can lead to very easy spread of wildfire. So make sure that you are very cautious today and avoid burning outside. There will be plenty of other times when the winds die down to do that. Winds coming in out of the northwest right now, 15 to 25. Some gusts up to about still 30 to 40, but not the 52 miles an hour that we had at the airport yesterday. That was our max gust that we saw. And this is all in the wake of our latest weather maker. There it is. You can see that one little band of snow and rain that's heading off the northeast coast. That's our nor'easter that continues very strong to move off the New England coastline. The next weather maker gearing up here with all these winter warnings and advisories from Minneapolis back to Omaha. Now, we are going to be on the eastern and southern side of that one, unlike this latest one. So all the blustery chill that we've seen, that's going to disappear. And the warmer air is going to get involved here as we head into tomorrow and Friday when that weather maker gets here. So that means that's rain this time around. No precipitation type kinds of problems around here as we head towards the end of the week, early weekend. So the future scan saying overnight to tomorrow morning, temperatures are going to be cold, right near 30. Few clouds here and there. And for tomorrow, look at that. Some sunshine coming back, less wind. High temperature is going to be close to 60. And then it gets a little more interesting for St. Patrick's Day. That green, that's not the kind of green you like to see on St. Patrick's Day. That's rain from Westminster to Frederick at 8:30 a.m. And then during the day on St. Patrick's Day for lunchtime festivities, maybe a little bit of corned beef and cabbage for lunchtime. It looks like there's going to be some showers there in the 50s and 60s for highs, probably about 60 to 65 for a high temperature Friday. So for Thursday, looking okay. 62, the winds again calm down after a cold start. 64 for Friday, spotty showers here and there, and then scattered showers on Saturday. But that's going to be early in the day. By the afternoon, 53 degrees and turning blustery. A windy and colder day for Sunday with a high 46, back up to 52 on Monday. And spring begins, of course, Monday afternoon. It's going to feel, well, kind of springy, I guess, with a high 50 to 55. Tuesday and Wednesday, slim chance of a shower as we get into the middle of next week.
All right, Jonathan, thank you. Anytime inclement weather hits, you can have the forecast at your fingertips. Download the Fox 45 weather app. Search WBFF in your app store. The students of Calvert Hall College High School are presenting a new musical, and it's mysterious and spooky. You get that? Like the Addams Family? Be More lifestyle host Mark Clark has a behind-the-scenes look at the Addams Family play.
So I'm in the spotlight, as you can see. Hit the lights. Okay, so come on over here. Gene is the lighting director. What I love about the production guys is the students really do everything. So Gene, you're in charge of lighting?
Yes, I'm the student director of lighting. I've had the exciting opportunity to work with Josh Fulmore, who's a professional up and down the East Coast, and we've really been able to create something beautiful here.
Awesome. And now the set man, Matthias. Boom, this is your set.
It is, and we've been working with Mr. Chester, who's the Calvert Hall head of fabrication. He's got over 50 years of experience working here. We've put together this and a couple of surprises for you on opening
night. A couple surprises. Now, Aaron here, he has Thing in his hand. He created Thing. So, Aaron, are we going to see Thing do his thing?
Yes, you will.
I didn't mean to say that.
It'll be in a good amount of scenes throughout the show. It'll definitely be giving you a jolt when you see it.
Can we see him do? Can Thing walk?
Sure, yeah. So we press this button right here. That allows the fingers to move, and we place it down. And then through wonderful Bluetooth power, all it is a matter of turning this switch on.
So he actually created Thing, guys. And so
then all you got to do is pair it up.
It's creepy and it's kooky.
And then there you go. As you can see through the phone, you can actually control the motors on the robot.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
To drive just like that.
Good job. Good job, man.
All right, coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, An explosion at the Back River wastewater treatment plant. We'll have the latest on the investigation into what caused it. First, to throw or not to throw, when you should and shouldn't be saving your boxes. The decision about whether to keep or throw out boxes can be a complicated one. Tom Rogers offers you some tips to help you decide when to hold them and when to fold them.
Consumer Reports deputy tech editor Chris Raymond has been buying electronics for decades.
One of the first electronic items I remember buying was a clock radio with a cassette player built into it.
Along with decades of tech, stacks of boxes, reminders of bygone gadgets.
You could probably go into any room in the house and open a closet door or look, tuck in one of the corners and you'll find a box tucked there for a laptop or a speaker or a telephone.
The next time you make a tech purchase, should you save the box? Well, Consumer Reports says there are some times when it's a no-brainer to hang on to a box, at least for a little while, like when there's a chance that you might return it. Another time to hold on to a box?
If it's an item that you think that you might resell, people are much more likely to buy it when it's in the box.
Consumer Reports also says keeping the box while the manufacturer's warranty is in effect might make it easier if you have to send an item back, though most will accept an item for repairs in any box. Also a good idea, saving the box to store a device you may not use every day or keep track of extra parts like a battery or a cord.
That helps you, one, you go back and find them, but it also helps you remember what that cord goes to, right?
If none of these apply, Consumer Reports says feel free to just get rid of the box. Now, when it comes to storing the boxes themselves, Consumer Reports says if you can't flatten out the boxes for storage, consider nestling some smaller boxes in the larger ones, or you can even repurpose some of those nice sturdy boxes for your holiday decorations or other storage. Tom Rogers, Fox 45 News.
Environmental groups are suing federal agents connected to the Willow Project, which would allow for oil drilling on the National Petroleum Reserve in Alaska. They argue the Biden administration's environmental analysis doesn't account for how carbon emissions can impact nearby species. A spokesperson for ConocoPhillips says that analysis satisfies all legal requirements.
Taking a quick look at your weekend forecast, we start off with St. Patrick's Day on our Future Scan, our GFS Future Scan computer model. Kind of takes a look out into the extended range of the forecast. For Friday, again, showers diminishing as they're moving in, but there could be a spot shower here or there. This computer model says, interestingly enough, some blue there early Saturday. That would be snow, but temperatures do not support that. So I'm really thinking that it's just early spot showers with temperatures in the mid to upper 30s to begin on Saturday, then clearing skies, 50s in the afternoon. And then Sunday's a dry and kind of breezy day. So it's St. Patrick's Day hour by hour. Noontime, we're at 56. Spot showers move in. The later you get, the better chance of rain. 5 p.m. spotty showers and 62, at least nice and warm. 59 at 9 p.m. with showers around. And the remainder of the weekend, again, we start with some early showers on Saturday, clearing during the afternoon. Winds pick up, high 53, 46. That's going to be a colder day there on Sunday.
Jonathan, thank you. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, serious questions about the timing of Governor Moore's pick to lead the state police. First on Fox, the ethical concerns surrounding his appointment. And from holding up appointments to battles over city funds, the city council and mayor are butting heads on multiple issues. Why one city resident says the controversies at City Hall are hurting residents.
Ethics concerns over the timeline of Governor Wes Moore's nominee to lead the state police, what it could mean for his confirmation moving forward.
Also breaking news, a fire and explosion at the Back River wastewater treatment plant. What we're learning live on the scene.
The city council butting heads with Mayor Scott. Why members of the community say their feuds only hurt city residents.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 5.
We have breaking news into Fox 45. The Baltimore City Police have now confirmed a 16-year-old boy was shot in northeast Baltimore. This happened on Harford Road near East 25th Street. His injuries are considered to be non-life-threatening. Fox 45 News has a crew on the way to the scene. We'll bring you more information as it becomes available. Anyone with information right now is urged to call Metro Crime Stoppers. You can call their tip line at 1-866-7-LOCKUP or Baltimore Police directly. We're following multiple breaking stories tonight on Fox 45 News. In Baltimore, the City Council President Nick Mosby announces his plans to run for re-election. And across the country right now, stocks take another hit as another big bank reports financial issues. First right now, an explosion and fire today at the Back River wastewater treatment plant. I'm Kai Jackson.
And I'm Mary Bubala. Fox 45's Vincent Hill is live at the facility with the very latest on what happened there today and the investigation into what caused it. Vincent?
Yeah, Mary, it started around 11:30 at a building here. That's where that explosion took place. So right now, crews are still on the scene, and that cause of the explosion is being investigated. We're told it happened inside a building that's being leased by a city contractor known as Synagro, which is not affiliated with the Back River water treatment plant. Thermal oil was being stored in that building, which is said to be non-hazardous. So what exactly sparked that explosion is unknown. A spokesperson from the Baltimore County Fire Department describing the scene when crews arrived.
There were 7 people working inside that building when the incident occurred. Some of them immediately left the building. Our fire crews helped the rest of them get out of the building. Our crews were dealing with multiple fires inside that building.
Now, we're told this did not affect operations of the plant, and it's, quote, business as usual.
Vincent, have there been any threat to the public because of this fire and those chemicals?
Kai, no threat to the public. We're told that oil is contained in that building where the explosion happened, so there's nothing to be concerned about for the public or the water that's coming out of this plant. That's according to MDE. In Dundalk, Vincent Hill, Fox 45 News.
Also breaking right now, City Council President Nick Mosby announces his plans to run for re-election. The council president has faced a number of controversies over the past year. Last month, a judge found Mosby violated 2 ethics rules surrounding his failure to report donations to a legal defense fund set up in his name. Fox 45 News will have a complete report on Nick Mosby's re-election campaign coming up at 10 o'clock.
A rough day for the stock market. The Dow Jones fell more than 500 points today. It did bounce back a little bit by the closing bell, finishing 280 points down. The drop comes as Credit Suisse, another major bank, reports financial issues. Coming up, national correspondent Kayla Gaskins will take a closer look at the bank failures and their potential impact.
First on Fox right now, Governor Wes Moore's pick to lead the state police is facing questions about the timing of his return to the job after retiring.
Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost is investigating the timeline. She joins us live. Mackenzie, tell us what you are gathering and learning about this.
Well, Mary and Kai, we have obtained some documents showing Governor Wes Moore's office was paying attention to a so-called cooling off period between the time Lieutenant Colonel Roland Butler retired and when he could be rehired and still earn his state pension. Then Governor Moore named Butler as his pick to lead a department already facing scrutiny.
Good morning.
Governor Wes Moore announcing Lieutenant Colonel Roland Butler.
This will not be easy, but the women and the men of the Maryland State Police are prepared for this.
His pick to lead the Maryland State Police.
After doing an exhaustive search of individuals who I knew I could trust to lead us through this time, it was obvious that both because of his experience and also because of his vision looking forward, that I knew that Lieutenant Colonel Butler was the person I wanted to go with.
Butler was first hired by the state police in 1994. And according to MSP, he retired on December 31st, 2022. But other records indicate an email went out to the department on December 20th indicating Butler's retirement plans effective January 1st, 2023. Just a few weeks later, he was back on the job.
Thank you for the honor, sir.
Maryland law requires a state employee to wait 45 days from retirement to rehire to receive their pension. Seen here on the State Retirement Agency's reemployment form. And this section raising even more potential problems, stating, under no circumstances should your decision to retire be conditioned upon an offer of reemployment. No offers of reemployment should be discussed by you and your employer prior to your retirement. Butler's appointment must be confirmed confirmed by the Senate. This email, obtained by Fox 45 News from Secretary of Appointments Tisha Edwards, shows the governor's office was aware of the 45-day cooling-off period. The email sent hours before Moore publicly announced Butler's nomination. Edwards writing, "We discussed Mr. Butler a month or so ago. Due to pension rules, Mr. Butler was required to retire from the state and could only return after 45 days out of service. If Butler's nomination was discussed a month before he was announced, that would have been squarely within the 45-day window and potentially a violation of the state law if Butler retired knowing the nomination was expected. Given these concerns, we sent questions to Governor Moore's office asking, when did conversations begin with Lieutenant Colonel Butler about the nomination? Did Governor Moore know Butler retired on December 31st and wait for the required 45-day pension window to expire before naming Butler as secretary? Moore's office says Butler complied fully with the statutory requirements for reemployment, but we still don't know when the conversation between Moore's team and Butler began, despite concerns within the department about ticket quotas and civil rights investigations into the department's hiring practices. Moore maintaining his confidence in Butler Monday.
He is someone who understands the challenges that exist within the state police, but also uniquely understands how to address it. And I do believe and still believe that Colonel Butler is the one who can help to lead Maryland to a safer state.
Tuesday, Senate President Bill Ferguson noting there are several members of his chamber who are asking their own questions about Butler leading the department.
I am proud that senators are doing their due diligence to make sure that he's the right person at the right time.
Not willing to say what will happen when a confirmation vote is taken. Butler, another nominee, facing questions ahead of his confirmation to fill out Governor Wes Moore's cabinet. Now, the official nomination was read into the Senate this morning, and a confirmation hearing for Lieutenant Colonel Butler is expected to be scheduled in the coming weeks. We're live in the newsroom. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Several other gubernatorial appointments have drawn some criticism from lawmakers and the public. Maryland's head of juvenile services, Vincent Schiraldi, faced backlash for his plans to eliminate probation and parole for offenders. Governor Wes Moore withdrew his nomination for a natural gas oversight role on the Public Service Commission. Juan Alvarado has ties to the national gas industry, and some environmental groups were critical of that. The state Senate is also holding its vote for Yolanda Martinez to be the next head of the Maryland Stadium Authority, citing a troubled financial history.
Well, happening right now, a demonstration in front of City Hall. Community leaders across Baltimore demanding accountability from local politicians. The activists saying the city government is failing to address some key issues facing the community, including education, crime, and the local economy for sure. And as we look at live pictures, the crowd is gathering for the event, which will start momentarily.
Well, the criticism comes as we've seen a stretch of controversy in City Hall. This week, the City Council held a hearing on the mayor's Clean Core program, which would give a few nonprofit organizations $15 million to clean up Baltimore. Some city lawmakers say the money should go to the Department of Public Works. At the same time, a committee is also reviewing legislation to bring the Baltimore Police Department under local control. Mayor Scott has supported a plan delaying the process until next year, but others want that done immediately. And the most recent conflict, the battle over Faith Leach's confirmation to become city administrator. Fox 45's Megan Gillen discusses the divide with one community member.
In less than 10 minutes, the same council committee that rejected Mayor Brandon Scott's nominee for city administrator last week unanimously approves it 4 days later. And now that sudden change of heart is bringing up questions of a possible rift. Lifelong Baltimore resident Pastor P.M. Smith weighing in on what this could mean for you.
They're playing a game of tic-tac. They're adults playing a juvenile game, a kid game of tic-tac with the mayor. That's what happened Thursday. You didn't give me what I wanted, so I'm tic-tagging you and I'm running. And then Monday, they kissed and made up. We are the ones who suffer because of their juvenile behavior.
Councilman Z. Cohen is calling for a restructuring of the Board of Estimates here, saying that the mayor has too much control over how he spends city money. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that. And I think when our mayor was president of city council, he agreed with that. He may not agree with that now, especially in light of the way he did an end run around the issue of the conduit. I think that's what's happening now.
I also asked Pastor Smith about the renewed question on whether the size of city council should shrink as the population has. You can hear his response and watch the entire interview on foxbaltimore.com. I'm Megan Gillen, Fox 45 News.
Well, take a look at this. David sending us these pictures from West Baltimore showing some trees down in his neighborhood this morning after that intense wind last night, really all yesterday. Under a wind advisory due to the storm that hit the Northeast with multiple feet of snowfall. Jonathan Myers here now with the latest on what comes next for us here in the Baltimore region.
Yeah, that tree just snapped right there, maybe even uprooted. Can't really see the bottom of that tree there, but that's a pretty sizable tree. Keep in mind, you still, after a breezy day today, could have some debris in the roadways. Again, 2 eyes on the road and 2 hands on the steering wheel. With still some breezy conditions going, but they are lesser than we have seen. About 15 to 25 sustained, some gusts up to about 30 to 40 here in Baltimore, all the way back down to Denton and Easton. But outside of that, it is gorgeous looking outside. Temperature's about 50 to 55. And you throw on a jacket, you'll be okay as you take a walk or a stroll around the Inner Harbor. Future scan winds. Here's some wonderful news. You see those winds at about 20, 30 into the remainder of the day before sunset. But after sunset, those winds, they cut off, and we're down to about 10 to 15 miles an hour overnight into early tomorrow morning, maybe 5 miles an hour. And then during the day tomorrow, nothing like what we've seen, and high temperatures could be approaching 60. I'll let you know we could be well into the 60s. And if it comes in time for St. Patrick's Day, and if it comes with some rain. That's in my Weather Authority forecast.
Put the power of the Weather Authority Storm Center in your hands. Download the free WBFF Weather Authority app for your smartphone. Use our powerful Doppler radar to follow storms to your street. Go to your app store and search for WBFF to get started.
It's day 3 of the federal manhunt for former Governor Larry Hogan's ex-chief of staff. The latest on the FBI getting involved in the search.
Baltimore City's Inspector General is one of hundreds of parents who believe money is missing from their Maryland 529 account. We're hearing from her frustrations with the program.
The NFL League year officially kicks off. The latest on the free agent moves for the Ravens as we track Lamar Jackson's future in Baltimore. The new NFL league year is officially upon us, and Lamar Jackson's status is taking center stage.
That's right. Morgan Atson joins us live right now with what that means moving forward. Morgan?
Yeah, guys, at 4 p.m. today, while not a true free agent, MVP quarterback Lamar Jackson officially hit the market. Jackson's open for business. Jackson, along with the Ravens, are about to find out, though, his market value. The Ravens set it for just north of $32 million this upcoming season by using the non-exclusive franchise tag. Any offer that comes Jackson's way, the Ravens have 5 days to match or let him walk for 2 first-round draft picks. Is there a market for Lamar Jackson? Well, we know there should be, but it is leaning more the Ravens' way. Before Jackson was allowed to talk to teams today, a number of moves were made elsewhere. Aaron Rodgers expected to be traded to the Jets. Baker Mayfield is going to the Bucs. Jimmy Garoppolo, Raiders. Derek Carr to the Saints. The Falcons picked up Taylor Heineke and have Desmond Ridder as their starter. The Dolphins are picking up Tua Tagovailoa's 5th-year option and signed a backup in Mike White. The 49ers signed Sam Darnold. We'll see what he does. The Commanders are going to lock up Jacoby Brissett. So here are the teams that should be all in on Jackson: the Colts and Texans. Now, the Patriots and Titans I listed there, but it's going to be interesting. They have quarterbacks under contract, so that's more the trade routes. The Ravens did make a move today by re-signing Justice Hill, keeping the free agent running back from hitting the open market. It's a 2-year deal. Hill, when healthy, is a special talent that only continues to develop and was one of the Ravens' best special teams players last season. The Ravens used the low restricted tender on backup quarterback Tyler Huntley. That means they can match any offer he gets, but the Ravens get nothing if he signs elsewhere. Nothing was offered for safety Geno Stone. He is now a free agent. Money is tight, to say the least, with $32 million now on their cap for Lamar Jackson's non-exclusive franchise tag price.
It's rough, but we have lots of blankets.
I was sliding everywhere, and I got 4-wheel drive.
Well, many are without power tonight after a nor'easter slams into the Northeast and New England, bringing heavy rain and snow, high winds and coastal flooding. Some are digging out from as much as 3 feet of snow. Those conditions have made travel dangerous on roads and runways, and emergency crews are working to clean things up.
A dramatic scene in New Hampshire. A team of first responders rushing to free a child who was trapped under a tree last night. For nearly 20 minutes, 16 firefighters used their bare hands, chainsaws, and shovels to free the child. It resulted, believe it or not, in only minor injuries for that child. That is scary. I'm glad everybody is okay.
Definitely.
Wow. That's usually what happens this time of year. When you're talking March, you're talking about that wet, gloppy snow that starts taking trees and limbs down. So you kind of don't want any part of that kind of stuff, especially now as we're headed towards spring. We just want some warmer weather, right?
Yes.
Right. Most of us do. And it looks like we are going to be getting some just in time for St. Patrick's Day. Winds are dying down. They've been kind of bad during the day today. So keep in mind there still could be the potential that you have some limbs, small trees that have been taken down that could be on the roads, as well as some debris like garbage cans could be tossed about. Winds out of the west-northwest at 22 miles an hour. Also keep in mind with the dry weather, 51 and sun, and the humidity way low and the gusty winds, well, that means also the potential of increased fire danger. So if you do have any limbs or leaves or any, kind of winter debris that you're burning out in the yard, it can spread into a wildfire very quickly today. So make sure that you hold off on any of those open burning fires until these winds do come down. And tomorrow they will certainly come down, as well as into the early weekend. Now, the wind speeds are still about 15 to 25, gusting to about 30 or so, about 33 miles an hour in Baltimore. We're at 31 at Easton as our latest weather maker. Big storm system. See the last little bits of it here east of Portland, Maine, east of Boston, continue to move east and away. Big nor'easter, very strong, but now gone. As we take a look out to the west, that's our next weather maker that's out around Minneapolis. But this time around, instead of the blustery cold side of it, we're going to get on the eastern side. This thing's going to track to our north. That's going to be the warmer side of the weather maker or the storm system for us. So our temperatures next couple of days on the upswing and just in time for St. Patrick's Day festivities. So overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning, going to be cold. Temperatures about 30 to 35 tomorrow. Good looking day as we make it to at least around 60. If not, looks like some of the computer models say maybe closer to about 63, 64 in some of the warm spots. And then into Friday, not as pretty of a day. Notice the clouds do increase. Some showers moving in from the west during the morning. And by lunchtime, I think they're impacting us here in Baltimore. So if you're going to be sitting down for some corned beef and cabbage, yeah, it's going to be fairly mild, but we're also going to have to deal with some of the light spot showers around. So keep that in mind for St. Patrick's Day festivities. May want to have some indoor plans, at least kind of alternate, just in case. 62 for a day tomorrow. Goliath recovery temperature-wise. We start in the low and mid-30s in the morning into the low to mid-60s by the p.m. On Friday, nice-looking day temperature-wise, but again, the spotlight showers. Those continue Friday night into Saturday morning. 53 on Saturday. Breezes pick up during the afternoon. It's kind of a windy and chillier day on Sunday with a high 46, but that's only one day. Spring begins on Monday looking good with a high right around 52 degrees. And then look at those temperatures in the 50s, which is about seasonable. We'll take it for Tuesday, Wednesday of next week.
Jonathan, thank you. A Baltimore City official is just one of the many parents growing more and more frustrated with Maryland 529. Hear from Inspector General Isabel Mercedes Cumming about the difficulties her family is also facing. Is the City Council focusing on the right issues? A closer look at their priorities as a member pushes for a ban on gas-powered lawn tools.
The DOJ and SEC launching criminal investigations into the executives of Silicon Valley Bank. I'm Kayla Gaskins in Washington with what the feds are looking for.
Well, happening right now, a demonstration in front of City Hall. Community leaders across Baltimore demanding accountability from local politicians. The activists saying the city government is failing to address some key issues facing the community, including education, crime, the local economy, and development. Let's listen in just for a few minutes.
Here, skateboarders need a skate park. There's more than enough money to build a skate park and still see to the restoration of the entire park. Why choose either or when we can do both affordably? The real question here is why such great resistance for something so special and good for the youth of a deserving community? Why? You know, let's stop making excuses.
All right, that is some of the calls for accountability in front of City Hall today. We'll continue to monitor it and bring you anything as it develops. Well, the stock market down today as concerns grow over bank failures. The Dow Jones at one point was over 500 points before recovering a bit by the closing bell. It was down 500. Another bank, Swiss bank, Credit Suisse, says it's found problems in its past financial statements. The new concerns come just days after multiple U.S. banks collapsed. Tonight, national correspondent Kayla Gaskins is looking into some unanswered questions.
The Justice Department and SEC already teaming up to investigate the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank.
So they're really worried about whether there's some kind of securities fraud going on, which would be like making misleading statements.
The DOJ looking into possible insider trading. The SEC checking a series of stock sales by top executives in the days before the collapse. The timing of the trades is tricky because regulation rules changed in late February.
There are still many unanswered questions, like if bank leaders gave misleading, overly optimistic statements to the public that could be considered fraud. Also, the circumstances surrounding $3 million worth of stock sales by bank executives in the days leading up to the collapse, and if those sales were actually within regulations. Finally, how did this company engage in such poor interest risk management, and how did regulators miss red flags that many say are easy to catch?
Critics on the right, like Home Depot co-founder Bernie Marcus, argue bank leaders overlooked issues because they focused attention elsewhere.
They were too busy woke. They were too busy playing the woke game.
For example, new data from the conservative Claremont Institute shows SVB donated $73 million to Black Lives Matter and related causes. And many on SVB's board of directors have one thing in common: deep political ties to top Democrats such as Nancy Pelosi and Hillary Clinton. There's no evidence that the bank's politics contributed to its collapse, and its political views are in line with many of the Silicon Valley companies it has as customers. Experts argue the niche customer base, many connected through social media, likely sped up the downfall.
All these people kind of knew each other. I think it really does highlight the ability of social media to turn the tables on firms very quickly.
Investigators working to get to the bottom of this failure, hoping to prevent panic from spreading throughout the banking industry. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
A computer failure leads to a massive backlog of tax filings. How Maryland's comptroller says her office is fixing the issues to get you your return. Baltimore's Inspector General says she's just like every other parent out there, frustrated with the failing 529 program, the struggles her family is facing paying for school. The FBI raiding his home, looking for clues. The new developments tonight in the search for Roy McGrath.
It's day 3 of the federal manhunt for former Governor Larry Hogan's ex-chief of staff, Roy McGrath. McGrath didn't show up for his federal trial in Baltimore on Monday morning, and now multiple federal agencies are looking for him.
Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost has been following the search. She joins us live with new information about that FBI raid. Mackenzie?
Yeah, Mary and Kai, Roy McGrath still missing, and this morning the FBI executed a search warrant at his home in Naples, Florida. Here's some video of that raid obtained by Naples News Now showing the FBI. You can see several heavily armed agents. We're told multiple armored vehicles were there as well. McGrath's attorney, Joe Murtha, tells me the FBI was looking for any information that could help them find where McGrath is located. We know a welfare check was done Monday morning around 10:30 in Naples, Florida, but McGrath wasn't there. Yesterday, the U.S. Marshal Service issued a wanted poster. You can see his mugshot there. And we also know that his wife, Laura Bruner, is cooperating with law enforcement, answering some questions. And I'm told that his wife also doesn't know where her husband is. All questions potentially law enforcement are asking right now. Earlier today, Fox 45 News spoke with the U.S. Marshal Service, who's helping with this investigation, about where things stand right now.
This is an ongoing investigation conducted in partnership with the FBI and the Marshal Service. As a result, what we can release is limited, but I can tell you that agents are on the case and that it will only be a matter of time before the subject is apprehended.
Now, McGrath is accused of stealing thousands of dollars from the state while he was serving as the executive director of the Maryland Environmental Service. He's also accused of illegally recording conversations with other staffers while McGrath was serving as former Governor Larry Hogan's chief of staff. Part of his pretrial release, McGrath was ordered to surrender his passport months ago. If he is arrested, we're told McGrath will be brought back to Baltimore for trial. We're live in the newsroom. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
So the question is, where is the money?
A familiar face joining the fight for families who have invested in the state's embattled prepaid college trust. Baltimore City's Inspector General Isabel Cumming says she is among the hundreds of parents who believe money is missing from their Maryland 529 accounts. Fox 45's Rebecca Pryor shares her story and the calls for action tonight. Rebecca?
Yeah, Mary, as the city's top investigator, Cumming is an expert in sniffing out scams. And while she's only viewing this case as a parent, she says from an outside perspective looking in that Maryland 529's calculation error, it just doesn't pass the smell test. In 2021, Cumming's Maryland 529 account balance was about $43,000. But when she went to transfer the account from one son to another later that year, she was told she only had $15,000 available. When she pressed Maryland 529 for an explanation, she says straight answers were hard to come by.
I have been told so many different things: computer glitch, forensic audit. You know, now they're just saying that my account is canceled. So myself and many parents who believed in what, you know, the state of Maryland was telling us are now unable to pay for our children's education.
And as a career fraud fighter, Cummings says in her professional opinion, this case deserves further investigating. However, according to documents uncovered by Fox 45, instead of looking into potential legal wrongdoing, the state attorney general's office is actively boosting the agency's defense against potential legal backlash. In November of last year, former Attorney General Brian Frosch signed a special counsel contract, which hired an outside law firm to offer Maryland 529 advice and support, as well as evaluating liability issues, work that's being done, quote, under the direction and control of the Office of the Attorney General. Now, I've reached out to the current Attorney General, Anthony Brown, to see if he stands by this agreement. I've also asked him if this agreement means no investigation will be launched on behalf of the parents, which his office also serves. As of News Time tonight, though, I have not heard back. Reporting live in Baltimore City, Rebecca Pryor, Fox 45 News.
Rebecca, thank you. Well, since the legislative session began in January, 2 high-ranking members of Maryland 529 have resigned. Board Chair Peter Saragosa stepped down last month, shortly after Jessica McCain, a member of the board's Audit and Governance Subcommittee, left halfway through her 4-year term. You can see all of our reporting on Maryland 529 on foxbaltimore.com.
when you have that large a number of schools that are failing. It is not something where you go after one or two schools. It is system-wide. It's systemic. The problem is systemic.
A Project Baltimore investigation raising questions over what to do with underperforming schools. Fox 45 News first broke the story of the 23 city schools where not a single student who took the state math exam scored proficient. Tonight at 10, the other areas where some of those schools are failing.
A building collapses in West Baltimore. The vacant building fell apart on Landvale Street last night, not far from the seller's mansion. Now, the cause of that collapse is unknown at this time. However, neighbors tell Fox 45 they believe the decrepit building just couldn't stand up to those strong wind gusts we had yesterday. Fortunately, no one was hurt. Baltimore City has more than 14,000 vacant buildings. Roughly 1,000 of those properties are actually owned by the city. The rest are privately owned. A report from Johns Hopkins University says vacant properties are costing taxpayers and the city an estimated $200 million a year.
As the vacant home crisis continues and violent crime continues to grip Baltimore, a Baltimore City Councilman is proposing a ban on gas-powered leaf blowers. It has many questioning where his priorities are. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker has more.
There's a lot of pushback against this bill, many pointing to things they say are more important that they'd like to see their elected leaders focus on.
On a day like today, the wind carries the leaves away. But other days, you might need a little help from a leaf blower.
They're gonna be noise.
It's not just this noise, but the pollution that has Baltimore City Councilman Ryan Dorsey calling for a ban on gas-powered debris removal equipment.
I just don't know anybody that's thrilled about gas-powered leaf blowers.
Sponsoring the bill alongside Dorsey are council members Christopher Burnett and Odette Ramos. Violators could face criminal fines up to $1,000.
There are quieter, less environmentally harmful alternatives that are readily available to people.
But Dorsey's proposal has some questioning just where his priorities lie.
Well, how can you ban somebody for cleanliness opposed to violence per se?
I think there is a little bit of bigger issues.
Nothing is doing about the crime. There's so much crime.
Put your focus on the crime. The crime is sincerely out of hand.
In 2022, the Baltimore City Council introduced 5 pieces of legislation relating to public safety and crime. That's out of 239 ordinances and resolutions. Dorsey co-sponsored exactly 1 piece of legislation on the issue out of 42 ordinances and resolutions.
You're putting your full attention on the minute things.
The thing they're supposed to look at, they're not looking at.
Blowback is also coming in on Twitter. One tweet calling for Dorsey to focus on the big issues of the city, saying they need your time the most. Another asking what this would mean for city landscaping contractors, calling it a waste of time. But some are coming to Dorsey's defense, saying leaf blowers are a nuisance and terrible for the environment, and you can't ignore the facts.
A lot of the people who use these things, they're trying to keep their yards tidy and neat, and try to maintain a nice, proper-looking home.
Political analyst John Deedy says it's time City Council gets serious.
Piece of legislation, to put it politely. This doesn't do anything to solve the important problems dealing with crime and education. This sounds like more of a personal peeve situation.
We reached out to Dorsey for comment the past 2 days, asking what he says to those who question where his priorities are. We did not hear back.
And while electric options like this are a quieter option, giving off a lower decibel range of sound, they're still pretty noisy. However, they do not put out any emissions. In Baltimore, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Maryland's tax system is once again operational, an issue officials say was caused by an outdated computer system and had completely stopped the state from processing tax returns. Comptroller Brooke Learman talked with Fox 45 News this morning about what it took to fix the problem.
The Maryland tax system is back up and running. And while many of you may not have even noticed it was taken offline for a week, the comptroller's office says they were scrambling to get it updated and fixed as quickly as possible. In fact, Comptroller Brooke Learman has been very vocal about updating the antiquated system, both with software and new hardware. She says that is the cause for the disruption. One of them, when we heard about antiquated systems, is, okay, privacy concerns. Any personal information leaked at all?
No, all our data is no data was compromised or lost. All the files were received. We just couldn't process them. So there was, but they're now all being fully processed. Really excited to report that we have blown through our backlog. Everything's being processed now, and refunds are going out the door.
Oh, so everybody will be fine now, because I know in your statement that was just released like 24 hours ago, it was maybe March 22nd would be fully up and running.
Right. We are fully up and running now. The backlog is cleared. We wanted to be conservative just to make sure that people knew, didn't get too excited, but we're all up and running, and we brought in about 225,000 tax returns last week when we were offline. But now we've cleared the backlog, and that's out of about 3.2 million tax returns that we take in a season. So we have a lot more coming in over the coming weeks until April 18th, our tax deadline this year.
Learman praising her new COO of IT, Robert O'Connor, and his staff for the nonstop work to keep records safe and clear the backlog ahead of schedule. Tom Rogers, Fox 45 News.
Well, it may sound like your boss, your friends, or your family, but it's really a scammer trying to steal your money. The warning from the Better Business Bureau about AI attacks.
Lawmakers calling out the CEO of Pinterest after claims pedophiles are using the app to target underage girls. The company's response, plus reaction from cybersecurity experts and parents.
And blustery winds gradually calming down tonight, but it will be cold. Temperatures settling down to near freezing during the overnight hours. But we've got a Goliath temperature recovery on the way for tomorrow and St. Patrick's Day. But you know how warm it's going to get. My Weather Authority forecast.